Are you interested in getting started trail running, or maybe you've already started and you don't know where to go from here? I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top essential picks that you should have with you when you're out on the trails that I use personally on a day-to-day basis. These things work out great whether you're doing 5 miles, 50 miles, any distance you can think of. These are just things that I personally believe will enhance your trail running experience and make sure you're having a good time. Anyways, let's get started. So the first thing that I want to go over before we get anywhere into this is, how are you holding your gear? Me personally, I use the Camelback bladder bag that everybody uses, but I take the bladder out. I personally don't like using the bladder simply because, one, I like to have different types of hydration with me. There are times I do use it, mainly on really hot runs, but there's other ways you can store your hydration that I believe are a little bit more optimal. This being the way it is, it has plenty of storage space. It has one big pocket up here. You can obviously store stuff in place of where the bladder is. And you also have a zipper pocket down here on the bottom, as well as a little bit of a mesh net right here. So plenty of storage, and when you don't have the bladder in, it covers so much more. Now to go over, what do I actually put into this bag? Well, one of the first things I always try to keep with me is snacks. I love to have snacks with me, something like, for instance, raisins. It's very easy to put in there, very small container, very light, and it's not like it's gonna go bad or anything could happen to it while you're out there. The one thing I do keep a tight pick on is granola bars. Something like this with the peanut butter on it, it can melt, it's gonna get sticky, it's gonna get all over your fingers, and it's gonna cause a mess. So sometimes it's better to go for the plain Jane, like the Nature Valley bars that don't have anything on it, but really it's up to you if you really wanna make a mess. I personally don't, so these are usually some of my picks that I go for food. The next thing, and you can modify this a little bit as you go, is a first aid kit. You never know if you're gonna fall, trip, get a blister that blows open, anything. And it's always good to have something just to cover the bases, just in case you do get hurt. Now, one of the things you can do is, if you know you're gonna need certain stuff more than others, like bandages or some Neosporin or maybe some bug spray, itch relief, something like that, you may be able to take those things out so you're not carrying this whole thing and taking up a lot more room. Put it into like a Ziploc bag and just keep it with you, but keep it minimal. So definitely have some form of first aid with you. I can assure you, you're gonna need it at one point, and you're gonna be pretty happy you have it when you need it. The next important item that I keep inside of my pack is water bottles. I keep some form of insulated water bottle, sometimes two, it really depends on the distance, but these little Ozark Trail insulated bottles come in at about $15. You can fit 2 of them pretty easily side by side in the pack. Is it very optimal to carry 2 water bottles with you? I don't know, but when I look at it, I have one with water and I have one with some form of electrolyte powder, a Gatorade or some sort. So keep some variety, keeps you hydrated, and they stay cold for, I believe, up to 4 hours, which is pretty good. I usually am not out that long, so works out pretty well. The next thing I have with me that I feel like is a very overlooked item that I keep in my bag is a pair of socks. You never know when you're gonna need an extra pair. You could step into a puddle, fall into some mud, or just have nasty, gross, sweaty feet after running so many miles. You're gonna wanna take them off. It's gonna get nasty. It could lead to you getting infections or funguses of some sort, so it's always good. Keep an extra pair just to be on the safe side. Now for a very, very important piece that I believe a lot of people need to consider when they are going trail running, and that is a GPS watch. Now the reason I say this is something very important is this could be life-saving. Number one, I know a lot of people use the Strava apps or Garmin or any of the other run tracking apps. Well, they're using GPS on your phone. They're using your cellular service, which could spot out, and it is killing your phone's battery. Now, when you're using a GPS watch, it is not connected the whole time to your phone's battery, only when you're doing the transfer. So what I'm saying is, if you needed your phone for a map, if you needed your phone to call for help, if you needed a phone for literally anything else and it died on you because the GPS is running your battery dry, that could lead to so many more problems than I think you could consider. Now, the watches, obviously very good for tracking. I use the Garmin Instinct 1. I do believe there are ones with a higher battery life. I think there's ones up to about 48 hours, which are probably an optimal pick if you're an ultra runner, but this is pretty good for starting out. I think they get about 6 hours. So, but they also come with an SOS mode on them that'll ping your GPS location and be able to help you get help. So I definitely say for safety aspect, try to get something as far as a watch. It could be a Fitbit, it could be a Garmin, it could be, I think there's a couple other brands I can't think of off the top of my head right now, but Apple Watch works too. Just get something, because you never know. If your phone died and you needed help, you're in a bad spot. So for safety aspects, definitely get something else other than your phone to track your location, to monitor your runs. It's for your safety. All right, and the next important piece is right under your feet the whole time, and that is some trail shoes. Now, I use the Asics Gel Venture, a relatively low price, affordable shoe. I think I actually got them on sale for about $60 a little over 6 months ago. These particular ones have somewhere in the ballpark of 200 miles on them, and the tread's still pretty damn good. They're still comfortable. They do smell a little bit, but that's on me. But these are a very good shoe, and I'm gonna look a little biased, but trail shoes, Asics Triathlon shoes, and my Asics everyday runners that I use for currently marathon training. So yeah, do I think Asics is the best for trail shoes? I don't know. I've only ran in one other pair, and they were Under Armour, and they were pretty good, but not nearly as good as this, especially bang for your buck wise. But you're definitely gonna want a good, comfortable, very grippy pair of shoes when you're out there, because running in sand, running in different terrains, it's a lot different than running in regular roads. I mean, there's a significant difference in how these things are treaded out. So definitely make sure you pick the right shoe for the job. The next item isn't necessarily an essential. I actually just started using these earlier this month, and they are trekking poles. I have a pair of Ozark Trail trekking poles from Walmart, really affordable, really cheap, but they work really well. And I started using them because I kept seeing other people use them. I don't deal with as much elevation, so it's not really for the climbing aspect, but a lot for the stability, and it just looks cool, and they work really well for me with turns. I don't know why. I just kind of like push off my turns, and I don't know. It feels good. Helps me keep my balance, and I also think for me, I always have an issue with my arms start to get really tight while I run, and this kind of gives my arms something to do. I don't know. I'm weird when I run. So maybe it's just me, maybe it's everybody, but trekking poles, very nice, very fun to use. They make you look like you know what you're doing. All right, another item that I believe is pretty handy, no pun intended, but that is the Nathan handheld water bottle. It's very light, it's very small, it's insulated, and it has this pocket here. I hold my keys in here, and I also hold a runner's gel and another granola bar, just so that way I have a little extra nutrition on hand. Hand pun again. But it's very useful. Comes in about like $35, I believe. I ordered one of these off Amazon, and I've been loving it ever since. So if you're going for a shorter run too, you could also cut out needing to carry as much gear on your back that way. So just an option to look at for further use. If I had $1 for every time I wish I had this with me, I could buy a whole case of these. And that is the Gold Bond Friction Defense Anti-Chafe little deodorant stick. You just take it, rub a little on in between areas where you chafe, whether it be your armpit area or between your legs, and this thing will save your life. I actually just got done recovering off a time that I forgot to use it, but this stuff, I mean, it goes good even when you're sweating. It's very good for active use, so definitely keep this in your pocket. Definitely bring it with you if you need it, but also be careful, it can melt. I've had one melt on me, but this stuff is very much worth having. I want to go over a few quick honorable mentions that I don't personally have with me, but I believe are very worthy of being on my list of essentials, and that is number 1, sunscreen. You want to protect your skin. Obviously, I'm in the middle of the woods right now, and I'm still getting hit with the sun, so you will too. Number 2, sunglasses. They go pretty well with that. Keep something to cover your eyes. It also helps you with your, being able to see, being aware of what's around you. So if you don't have the sun in your eyes, obviously it's a lot easier to stay focused and stay forward. And number 3, a poncho. Keep something, a little disposable poncho. You can get probably like a handful of them for a couple bucks at the store. Just throw one in your bag. I actually just recently used mine when I was running in a rainstorm, so I don't have one, but it is a lot easier carrying one of those and being able to throw it away versus carrying a rain jacket over top of all your other clothes while you're running, because if you don't need it, you're just going to sweat way more. It's going to be really hot. It's just not good. So having one of those little ponchos with you just in case it might start raining is pretty good. So all right, you guys, well, that is it for me. If you learned something today or found this useful, please take a moment and like and subscribe. I'd love to have you guys around. And also, if you can think of another trail running essential that you think you should have, comment it below. Let's all take a moment and learn from each other and have the greatest trail running experience we can possibly have. Anyways, I want you guys to stay safe, have a great time, and stay wandering. I will see you guys in the next video. See yous.